I say you are also saying government should look at permanent solutions, and you have about 3 or 4 of such. Can you take us through some of these? Because that is the most important thing.
Yeah, so Samson, for example, we are asking government to explore the possibility of relocating some of the people permanently. And I don't know, I've not seen any plan from the VRA, for example, that, for example, demarcates or zones of some places and call them, for example, danger zones or red lines where people are prevented from inhabiting those places. And you rightly mentioned...
But we can presume that will be there. Otherwise, nobody should sit in VRA as, paid to do any work.
Yes, Samson, so that's what you think, but we need to really know if there's something like this. And probably, even if there's something like that, we know that the dam has been built for 50 years now, or 5 decades. Population has increased, so it is possible that, for example, people would have encroached areas where VRA initially zoned off. So in that regard, it is important for us to revisit the issue of zoning of some places and calling them, for example, danger zones.
That's
so
number
this
2.
Must be, yeah, so that should be something that government should look at. We're also, for example, asking government, and I think this is not far-fetched, there must be an engineering solution to this. So we are asking government to explore, for example, ways of expanding the dam or creating reservoirs where some of the water could be harvested. Samson, I don't know if you heard this statement. Netherlands, they normally say God created the earth, but the Dutch created Netherlands. Why? Because the entire country, Netherlands, was in water. They had to battle with the sea and water to get their land back. And that is why they say God created the earth, but the Dutch created Netherlands. So, which tells you that human beings, if we put science into motion, we should be able to find solutions to some of these problems, because I don't think that this is a permanent problem. If it is a permanent problem, then I will ask the authorities to disband the dam. If they believe that there could be a permanent solution, then that solution must manifest immediately. And I heard the Vice President also reiterate the point that there must be a permanent solution. That was the same thing we said when the Bagre Dam also led to deaths, actually. To date, we are still waiting to see what will happen with the Bagre Dam. So we are asking for a situation where engineers, for example, will explore expansion of the dam or creating reservoirs to harvest excess water, which would be used for agricultural purposes and other purposes as well. So that is number 2. And number 3, also, we, for example, are also asking government, number 4, sorry. So we are asking government to put in place robust systems, early warning systems. Yes, VRA says, for example, they did simulations as far back as May. I believe, and if you read our statement, we stated that the simulation was a failure. And that is why we dispute the points made by the VRA deputy CEO that they are not overwhelmed. Because if we are not overwhelmed, and the numbers would not have been increasing by day, and then your plans kept changing. So early warning systems, which factors in or which accounts for climate change effects. And I think that in Ghana, we have not really visited the conversation of climate change as we are supposed to. So, for example, the World Bank and the UN, as well as under the umbrella of the UNFCCC, they are making funds available for developing countries to access funds to mitigate the effects of climate change. So I would want to know from government, for example, have they factored in VRA in the mitigation plan such that when water comes into the dam and we are unable to contain it, and then it leads to the kind of catastrophe that we've seen, are we able to access funds from this relief that the World Bank as well as UN institutions have made available for developing countries to have access to mitigate the effects of climate change? So clearly, looking at the volumes of water that is coming in, and mind you, what has happened also has ecological implications. I'm an ecologist, and I don't want to go into that. But whatever it is, I'm saying that early warning systems should account for climate change effects, and then we should be able to leverage on that to access funds from international institutions that have made funds available for developing countries like ours. And finally, we have also asked government to declare a state of emergency, and we are surprised that to date, government has not declared a state of emergency.
What difference will that make? There is a strong 13-man minister committee to look at this. What will the state of emergency do?
Samson, in Cree, they say that one person cannot cover the face of God. So I don't believe government has enough resources. We know the economic challenges that we are facing. So in order not to do outside gentility home cry, I believe that government should just tell the world that, hey, this problem is beyond us and we need your support. So what state of emergency would do is that it will, for example, help us to rake in additional support from international partners. And I think that the Honorable MP for North Tongu, Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa, rightly said, because he's a ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he rightly said that there are partners who are on standby to give us support once the government will be put away our pride as a nation and then ask for this support. So state of emergency is very, very important, because if we are going to use only the resources of government, if we had those resources, and as the VRA boss said a bit dishonestly, that they were indeed aware that this was going to happen, government would have built those structures, temporary structures, and evacuated those people even before the spillage happened. So for that to have happened, and government is now looking at how to...
Apart from the committee, Suleiman, apart from the committee, the Agric Minister, Brian Champong, says, quote, "I have directed that due to this emergency, $40 million of the World Bank-funded Food System Resilience Program be restructured to restore farmers fully whose farms have been wiped out due to the necessary action taken by the VRA to save all of us."
Yes. So
what else do you need an emergency and a state of emergency to do?
So Samson, I read that statement, and you realize that that is purely for food production. So there are different aspects to this. So for example, there's health issue. So the Agric Minister has access to funds, resilience fund, which I mentioned. For example, climate change adaptation is a fund that has been created for developing countries like ours. So Ghana has access to 40 million. And the minister is saying that it should be restructured in a way that will benefit farmers who have lost their farmlands. That is for food production. I'm not sure the 40 million would even go to the farmers there. If some of it will go to it. But there are different aspects of this whole conundrum that we are facing. So, for example, the health aspect. So that's why state of emergency would be very important.